All right, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the morning show. We are live. It's Friday. It's 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we are at the weekend. We made it. We're here. We've overcome more than some of you know. Anyways, we're live here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, and of course we've got the Zoom feed going. We got Martinez and Malachi in the house. What's up, man? Uh-oh, I don't know if it's muted or not. It's me. Yeah, he's muted.
Hey, we're doing well.
Good.
Gotta get better at that. Just unmuting. Anticipating, saying something early. But happy fabulous Friday in Nashville. The weather looks fantastic today as it did yesterday. And we're excited about being intentional throughout the day, aren't we, Malachi?
He said, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." I love it.
We're trying to we're excited. We're ready to give it to the day, and not the day give it to us.
Yes.
That's the truth right there. I do see on Facebook that we've got TJ Pruitt in the house. Good morning, TJ. I hope you're doing well. Matter of fact, I'm going to find the feed real quick and share this. In fact, if you're on any of these channels, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, once you find the feed, a way to share it real quick. Sharing is caring. Let me do that real quick. Share. Happy Friday. All right, here we go. That is shared. All right. Anyways, yeah, it's Friday here in Middle Tennessee. It's beautiful, and it's going to be crazy for all of us Middle Tennessee people, at least Nashville people.
Today?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
It's CMA.
Oh.
It's been going on. It's been crazy.
I don't go anywhere, literally.
It's true. That's true. You have the granny van.
I do.
Low miles. It's gonna be somebody's dream vehicle one of these days. Like, what? She's had this and she's only driven this many miles? Yeah.
Yeah, during when everything was loosening up after the pandemic and everything, and people were still a little leery about, oh God, I don't want to catch COVID. I always told people, if I catch COVID, it's going to be between church and Home Depot. That's the only places I go. So people were actually more comfortable being around me because of that. They're like, oh, she goes nowhere. So
Still the only place she goes.
yeah, to
Pretty,
this day,
pretty much.
Home Depot. And matter of fact, I've not been to Home Depot in a while because you ran for me last time. So.
I did?
Yeah, you got all them sheet goods.
Oh, for you.
Yeah.
I thought you said from you. And I was like, one, when have I ever ran from you? Two, why would I be running from you? I don't understand. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was the night. Yeah, and then when I went to get everything, nothing was where it was supposed to be because they had some shipping issues.
Yeah, good old lumber.
I was like, where's this at? I don't know what I'm getting, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
I'm not a good runner for person because I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what I'm doing either.
No,
Half
you
the
know.
time.
You like, because you're one with the material. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's already in your head of what you're doing. And so when I got, like, you're going, I
Here I
don't know.
go.
I don't know. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You yawned.
Yo, it's Friday.
I know.
It feels like Friday.
It's Friday.
Yes.
Friday.
It's pushing the end of the week.
Is it?
Yeah. It's been a long week.
It has been. You've been busy
Yeah.
clearing the garage out, getting ready for some projects.
If you're an office watcher, remember when Michael Scott says everything hurts and I'm dying. All of my body is quite sore. I will say in my 20s when I was on concrete floor constantly, I don't think I felt it quite like I do in my 30s, just standing on the floor or sitting. That's about basically how it's been. But anyways, I sound boring. How are you?
How about you, Martinez? How's your week been? You got any highlights for the week? You got any like, man, this was good. Got any feedback for your week?
Absolutely. Got some highlights of the week. I mean, I got some personal kills, and that is, it's always important to me, or at least I feel better when I'm intentional about my health, and so I took liberty, for example, I worked out at least 4 days this week, but one thing I did too, which was kind of like a different page out of my book, and that is I took my car to be serviced, and they actually, my plan was to drive my car there. They were going to keep it, so I left there. I ran there to the YMCA, worked out at the Y, and then I ran home, and so I had a little bit of time to do that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use these legs more often as I can, just to get that cardio going, so to speak. So, typically I would drive to the dealership and have someone pick me up and take me back home or whatever. But I saw an opportunity to kind of like get another workout in. I read my word a little bit more this week. Of course, this week includes a day. So I've had a couple of wins, and Malachi hadn't, I changed his diaper every time he needed to. That is twice. To the wife, besides those times, she did a majority of the changing. But a couple of wins, And I'm looking at Friday to kind of like set up my upcoming week versus it's the end of the week. It is the end of the week, absolutely. But I want to table Friday to make sure that it sets me up for the next week.
Yeah. You almost get to Friday is almost like a Monday to build momentum for the Monday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so grateful about that, and got a couple of homes under contract.
Nice.
So God's good.
Let's go.
That's great.
Come on, Banks, do your job.
Yeah, I've heard that real estate, for real estate agents in Nashville, it's actually, you know, people are like, man, it's booming. It must be great for you. But that everything is kind of hard to get into. So it's hard for the agents as well. So I don't know if you've experienced that yourself. I've just heard that it's a little bit of a difficult thing.
Absolutely. Like the market is such that, you know, even though the rates have gone up, you know, there's still a lot of buyers that are looking to buy homes, but the inventory is really low.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, for buyers, like for example, on my one listing, the one listing that we got on the contract, well, a couple of them, but this one in particular, we had like 15 offers on it, you know. And then, you know, I'm representing a buyer, and the buyer had we were one of 22 offers on as a buyer, you know.
Yeah.
And this
Good
house
Lord.
it was 1,100 square feet, 3 bed, 2 bath, and it was like all carpeted. And I'm like thinking to myself, there's no way I would ever live here in this region, in this house. I would make one penny.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't make an offer for this.
Yeah.
But my buyer's like, hey, let's make a $15,000 overpriced offer.
Wow.
Guess what? We did, and we still didn't get it. You know
Goodness. That's unreal. I've never, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent, but just anytime I've listened up on what's going on, I've never heard anything like it. I mean, it's incredible. And, you know, I know we've talked about a type of a market crash kind of thing, but even we were talking about, we've heard people say Nashville is not necessarily feeling a super large effect because there's so many people moving in, that the housing market is still kind of booming because of it, you know. And it blows my mind when I see houses sell for what they're selling for right now, because I'm like, my goodness, that was, you know, 150,000, you know, a couple years ago, and now it's 350 plus. You know, it's crazy. And I'm just curious, how many people are you selling like that are local versus out of towners? Are you seeing a lot of out of state people moving in, or?
Well, right. So like, I generally deal with local people, like someone in my sphere, or church, or you know, work, or the neighborhood, or something like that. You know, a friend. But like, I have helped some Californians. In fact, several, and you know, they love the price of homes.
Yeah, I bet.
In this area. I mean, like, even like utilities. I had a renter, they gave me $500 more to rent the place. And they loved it because, well, not me, but helped them find a place to rent. And they gave that owner, the landlord, $500 more. And they thought the utilities were in addition to the rent, was significantly lower. They laughed at it. They scoffed. I love Nashville, you know, that kind of thing, you know. And so, but you know, to your point, prior to the pandemic, you know, I guess, what is that, 2020, 2019? I guess, like, prior to that, like 7 or 8 years, Nashville was in the top 10 and sometimes top number 1 city in America to invest in, to move to.
Wow. And
so it went from 100 people coming to Nashville a day to 200. Now that's probably slowed down when the pandemic happened, but the majority of the people, like, you know, New Yorkers and Californians, they don't like this, and not just now Californians and New Yorkers, but investors.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of investors. Oh my gosh. Like, in coming in. And so what it's doing is it's obviously not only just driving the price of homes up, and which is great for people who are selling, but if you sell, the question is,
where are you going to go?
Because you're going to be buying at the high end.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, It's crazy. I nerd out on stuff like that, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess you could either say welcome to all these out of staters, out of towners, or you could say go away, we're full. It's all about perspective.
All about perspective. Great segue.
I try.
Hey, so today we are talking about perspective, finalizing all the details that we talked about. You know, we went from encouraging everyone that's watching to get out of your own way. We've talked about how leadership, okay, starts with you. And for you to see change in your life, it starts with you. It starts with me, then we. And we've also talked about that there are factors that affect your perception, how you perceive things. And just kind of want to close up that conversation today around the things that are affecting your perception. Like even in that conversation, Martinez, you had said it like the way we who live here, when somebody's like, oh yeah, that house, I would never live here. Well, they want it. They're willing to overpay for it. And come to find out, they couldn't even overpay for it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like it's just crazy the how we are like how we that live here in Nashville, how we're perceiving it versus how the rest of the world that are coming in,
Yeah.
they see a deal. It is.
We see the area.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a unique deal. But yeah, yesterday we really started talking about the inputs, the thing that affects how you perceive things. And a lot of it is about what is it that you are hearing and what is it that you're saying, it's my opinion that a lot of the hang-ups that we have are the results of lies that have been spoken into our lives. So when you have what do they call them? A limiting belief. When you have a limiting belief, in other words, you feel like you can't, or you're insignificant, those kinds of just negativity. If I'm just going to put an umbrella on it, negativity. When you feel that way, it's because somebody or something, a culture, a system, has spoken lies into you, and you received the lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's your all's take? What's your all's recap on that? What do y'all think about that idea of a system or people, the just negativity and how it affects us?
Give us your idea first.
Here's my perspective. Okay, the reason that lies, like for instance, if somebody tells you something outlandish, you don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
But a lie, I think you believe a lie because it merits a fact. In other words, it's like, well, I can't argue that. Mm-hmm. And to me, I have to evaluate things based on, is this a fact or is this the truth? Okay? For instance, here's you a good perspective, okay? I think people struggle with this with their financial well-being, things like that.
Good morning.
But it may be a fact that you're broke. Follow me. I know it is kind of funny. It might be a fact that you're broke, but the truth is you have abundance. You just haven't tapped into it yet. Mm-hmm. Because we serve a God who is abundant, who is rich in mercy, who says that I have come to give you life more abundant. So when you see things around you that are facts, the facts tell you the lie that this is where you belong. This is how life should go. But the truth is, I actually am becoming the person that's going to inherit the things that are laid up for me. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
that contrast between, it could be a fact, but just because it's a fact doesn't mean that I'm seeing the fullness of that fact. It's not my true reality, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think TJ to his.
What did he say? Okay. Scientists have proven that the brain and the way we think affects everything from our outlook to our physical health. It's so vital to reframe our mindset, change our narrative, and eliminate any false belief we have built up over time. I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
There are people that are physically sick strictly because they believe it in their minds.
I believe that 100%.
Case in point, my teenage years. I spent so much time, nerves, I just stayed nauseated all the time. And I was, but it was a mental stress that I put on myself. That inevitably the thing that I feared would happen, I created because of my obsession of the fear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like in other words, you were afraid of being afraid almost.
Yeah, to the point that, I'm so afraid I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to get, I'm going to get so stressed out that I'm just that sick, right? Well, I'm so afraid that that's going to happen that I get that stressed out and I get that sick. It's like, it's
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the classic movie plot line of trying to avert prophecy and thereby fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's all, that's mental,
It is. It's that where you're...
Billie Eilish song, I think, therefore I am.
What?
She's the latest person to say it. Yeah.
Well, bless her heart.
And what we used to say in sports, like what the mind can conceive, the body achieves,
Yeah.
So and that's just another way of saying, as a man thinketh, so is he.
Mm-hmm.
The world has a wonderful way of repackaging the word to make it seem like it's their original thought.
Yeah.
But that's a sidebar there. But this idea of you might be broke, using your example. I mean, and of course, that's all perspective, right? Too, and that's relative because, like, here in America, I mean, I don't care how broke you are. I mean, we're in the habit of saying we're broke or hungry with 2 loaves of bread under each arm.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like broke relative to what? Broke relative to, like, those in the Depression era,
Yeah.
Or broken relative to those, like, in third world countries, I mean, well, how broke are you?
Right.
Yeah.
But and so that's perspective. I think it's just good to kind of pump your brakes wherever you are and say, hey, let's take a dive into whether I'm as bad off as I think I am. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like, oh, broke or not, doggone it, I got my limbs, I got my arms, and I can go out there, find me a job, and get gainful employment to change my scenario.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, and it goes back to what we talked about a little bit, and that is just being grateful. In all things, just be grateful.
Yeah.
Because that'll change the way your brain works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
the gratitude idea is what you're saying is spot on because it's causing you to think of something that you have right now and find positivity in it, find a way to be thankful for it, and that I think that it's a balance because I love the idea of shooting for, the goal, right? Like I love the idea of, hey, I want this and I'm searching, I'm working to get this, right? I want to hit this many followers or I want to hit this number in profit in my business. I want to, and that's so great. We have to do that, but we have to balance it from, I want to get there to, but I'm thankful for being here, and I think we talked a little bit about that this week about, kind of celebrating the small wins. And it keeps you, gratitude. It does. That almost forces your perspective to be positive. it's definitely a great exercise. Because I look at your mind like a muscle. You have to exercise it. And it's immediately because we are flesh, and the Bible talks about our flesh we're born into sin. It's automatically going to lean towards the negative. You're automatically going to lean towards negative thinking. You're automatically going to lean because, it's just kind of, unfortunately, after the garden, that's it is what it is. So you have to work it out, and you have to start actively trying to lean positive. So I think.
Yeah. And the challenge that we have leaning positive, and you're absolutely right, 1,000%, which is a lot of percent, by the way, is just like you said, we're just internally built to be beat up on ourselves, to think negative, to think of the worst, and then guess what? We step outside ourselves, and we might ask someone else, or we step out on our porch and we're reminded. It doesn't take long. Where you can go out and say, someone might say, "Hey man, you're not looking that good today. You're not looking great today. What's going on? You could be looking great. You could be," and you're like, "What? Am I sick?" All that kind of stuff. Yeah. I remember running a marathon. I had to put that in Superman, but
boom,
running a marathon, and the sirens are you hear sirens, and they're inevitably coming for somebody, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, is something about to happen to me? Are the sirens? Is the ambulance coming for me?"
Yeah.
Here I am running, I'm fine, and my mind wants to take off, and I just had to laugh at myself. But it doesn't take much for you to go on that dark rabbit hole of, there's something wrong. This is not going to be a great day.
Yeah.
I wish I could do something. It's just the way we were built. And then you add to that when you look across the street and the Joneses have a new car and we don't, or they painted their house and our house is not painted, or their kids went to have been admitted to an Ivy League school or whatever, or college, and our kids haven't. It's just kind of it's not good. It's just not good.
Right.
And the thing about it is, we a lot of times don't have an anchor in that storm of someone beating us up, or we beating ourselves up, and therefore we can be tossed to and fro wherever the wind blows. Is where our limiting beliefs go, wherever our negativity goes. And so it's good luck.
Yeah.
Getting out of that storm, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to that point, keeping up kind of with the Joneses or whatever, we spent 10 years in a studio style apartment basement.
I was about to say that's a perspective situation too.
It is, because
this is a studio apartment. It was a basement.
It was a basement.
It
was my parents' basement.
It was a basement.
Yeah. And that was difficult, because that's a prime season of our lives where our friends, they were out in, apartments or homes or whatever, and they were, doing their thing, and it took a lot of mental discipline to kind of keep going back to why we're doing what we're doing, right? We're doing this and to, grow our church and build, we're in a season where we can do this. We brought our first baby, into that, and did just fine. And now having what we have, and I look back, God is so good, but God is not good because now we have our home and we have our vehicles. God was just as good in that basement. And if truth be told, some of my fondest memories was in my season where God crushed my pride. Yeah. And it has helped me at this point to, even when now that I look at what I have, man, I am so proud of it. And you could always play the game of I wish I had more, right? Like you're always going to have that desire for more. I think that it's a positive thing when you control it. But at the same time, like we were just talking about that the other day. I said, what's your dream situation? What's your dream home? What's your dream car? And I just looked at him and I said, I have it. I have my dream car. Like it's a little minivan, like I have it. I have my dream home. Yeah. And so it's one of those, I could probably sit there and fantasize up some immaculate home and vehicle, sure. But the truth of the matter is I'm where I need to be. Therefore I'm living what I need, what I want,
You're spot on, because I'll tell you this. You can have a perception that you just absolutely are not.
Yeah.
Like,
hey.
to your point.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want this nice car and this like blah blah blah. Like, nah, not really. I mean, like I like genuinely like those. If you want those, I want people. I'm not here to poo-poo on you.
Yeah.
What I'm here to say though is, you've got to know your reasons.
Yeah.
Your
we
reasons.
We miss you too, Daniel. Come see us.
Like, to your point, like the whole basement thing wasn't because we like just wanted that.
No.
Or it was a targeted, we're investing all of our time and energy into one thing.
Matter of fact, I think we lived at the church more than we did that basement.
We probably lived at the church more than the basement. But
that
was the whole point. We didn't need we just needed a place to lay our head.
I will listen to that today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. We could look at that and be like, oh my gosh, we just suck at life, and that's somebody else putting their reasons on us. Mm-hmm. Our reasons were very clear.
They were.
And you got to get clear with your reasons on what you're doing.
And when you're doing something that is with good reason, right? Like this was a decision we made with, the wisdom in multitudes of
absolutely,
counsel.
absolutely.
So we had people that are in authority over us, literally above us. You're in the basement. that agreed. This was a good move. This was a decision that was very good, And so once we had that decision established, where all of us are on the same page, this is what we're going to do. You have to be mindful of that. Remember that this is a decision that you've made to get to a certain point, and don't let those other things kind of affect you in the negative, I guess.
So Jason and Brittany, what I want to ask you is like, so are you like, so this was an intentional move of being in a place that is less than ideal.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So how is it fair to say that someone who might find themselves in a less than ideal situation where they don't have a plan, like that is, they're there and there's no goal or intentional behavior behind why they're there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in other words, it sounded like there was intentional behavior as to where you were, that you made choice to be there. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and those were humble beginnings, but can you speak to people who are perhaps in humble beginnings or in less than an ideal situation, and they're like, well, without that, and they don't want to be there, they don't have a goal in mind, like what's the difference? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be if you don't have a reason to be in the situation that you're in, yet you're not happy with it. I think you need to do some soul searching, like some serious evaluating on what you want in life, and it could be that this is not to sound harsh, right? This is to be encouraging. It could be that whether it be fear or whatever, you're not getting up and going and getting it. You know what I'm saying? You're not finding your why. And if you're not, then start there. Find your, is this a decision that I'm making? Is the people that have been placed in authority over me, right? Because it's counsel, right? Seek counsel with, hey, this is my life. This is my financial situation. Honestly, if you're somebody starting out, I would encourage you to have a financial conversation with a financial specialist myself, and kind of evaluate where you're at, and also evaluate your goals and figure out where do I see myself moving? Where do I see myself going? For us, we didn't know it would be 10 years. But at the same time, we didn't care if it was. Our main goal was, we were in the East Nashville location. And I remember the biggest charge was we have to make every single room occupied and busy and flipped. We're gonna update every single room and occupy every single room, and that was our goal. Mm-hmm. It was like, we're growing this church. We're doing what we got to do. We're gonna drive a van. We're gonna have a student class. We're gonna have a kids class. We're gonna do whatever it takes, right? We're gonna learn we're gonna learn streaming. We're gonna learn logo design. We're gonna learn media. We're gonna whatever it takes to take our church to the next level. And however long it takes, And so God at that point just kind of led that, where we were sensitive to the season, and we could tell when doors would open and we can tell when doors would shut based on what we would recognize and what our leaders would recognize. I think it's so important you have a leader in your life that helps you with things. I don't care how old you are. So figure out, we knew why we were in a basement. If you don't know why you're in a basement and you're in a basement, I would figure out why you're in a basement, Well,
and I will tell you this. You are unique. Mm-hmm. And I will say this. One of the things that you can do is confuse modeling from copying. Take stories like that and other great, like you just said, Martinez, there's so many great stories, even better stories, honestly, mm-hmm. of quote, humble beginnings, and then just all of a sudden blessing and transfer, things like that. But the point is, modeling says I take from that the principles. Copying says I go and do the exact same thing. What I'm saying is that might not be what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. That might not be your quote, humble beginnings. But that being said, you got to find what you need to do. Yeah. What is it? And that's what, without kind of saying it, I feel like at the end of the day, it's about being led. Mm-hmm. For instance, even that idea of being where we were, having a reason, like you said, anchored you to it. Anytime it got difficult, or it was like, are we doing the right thing? Are we just being stupid? Are we, what I'm saying? Have we missed it? It was like, no, we have a reason. Yeah. We have a reason. And that's where faith really has to come in and dictate the terms of your perception. Do you really believe that you're doing the right thing? Do you really have belief that this is what you're supposed to do? Because it's being tested right now.
And if you find all those things and you still feel stuck, right, in your season, it's like, I'm in a place where, I'm not able to, get from point A to point B. There's this waiting season or whatever. Just know that you're in the middle of your process, which, to be honest with you, don't check out of the present because you don't like the process. Because I can promise you, when you move from point A to point B, there will be a point B to point C. There's always a process. Mm-hmm. You're going to move from one process to another process. It's never, until the day you die, it's never just made it. You know what I mean? There's a little rest season in between those things, but there's always a process. Always. And so just remind yourself you are learning fundamental, valuable things in your season of waiting that once you get past it, you will be able to use to move you to the next level. And that's a perspective thing I have now. Don't know that I had it then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know that I had it then. But I'm so thankful I have it now because I'm in my 30s and I want to be able to spend the rest of my days on this earth with that mentality. I think it'll help me coast through the hard hard times, not coast. It'll still be
Well,
uphill.
what happens is, it goes back, we have a plan.
Yeah.
And that plan is serve God, believe in his promises, and wait until you receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when I say wait, I'm not just saying, sit down but occupy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Occupy the time, do what you know you're supposed to do, and continue. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot, this is just my perspective. To your point, Martinez, here's the other thing. Wherever you're at, who are you becoming to be the person that goes beyond that area? Like I will say, like, there was a lot of personal growth we went through in our 20s that, I mean, even to this day, like, I can look back and I'm like, we had to learn this lesson. We had to learn that lesson. We had to learn, right? We had to get it wrong until we got it right.
I was going to say, there was a lot of stupid decisions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're young.
Absolutely. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also taught, like, hey, you can become more than what you are right now,
Mm-hmm.
to do bigger, better things, to increase in what you have. Like they're just these principles that you can't get past them. You can't get past a principle.
No. And a lot of that comes from maybe your perspective. Maybe you're having a hard time changing your perspective for the positive because you don't know how to figure out positivity. And if that's the case, like, this goes back to what we keep saying, dig into God's word about positivity. Case in point, like the way that our economy looks, there's so much fear right now because of inflation and gas prices, and there's just so much fear. I don't care if you lean left or right, or you're right down the middle, or whatever, you're undecided. Everybody has this, in terms of finances, you're a little, you know what I mean? It's it's uncomfortable. I don't feel all that uncomfortable because I go back to what God says, or what he says in Matthew, what Jesus says about, the birds in the air. Do they worry about where they get their food? No, they don't, because they know I'm going to take care of them. How much more am I going to take care of you guys? How much more am I going to take care of my children, right? And then he says, seek the kingdom of God first and his righteousness, and these things will be added unto you. He was talking about, roofs over your head, food on your table. He never said it's going to be, I love it because people talk about, God said, seek the kingdom first and all these things will be added unto you. Make sure you read the all, right? Because that doesn't mean I'll get that Ferrari because that's, the kingdom first. But it just means, look, when you live your life in accordance to my word, I'm going to make sure you have opportunity and favor to be taken care of. It might not look the way you want it to look, but like I said, if you live in his word, you're going to find that even in your desert, God gives you an oasis. And it's not where you're going, but it's this little paradise in the middle of the dry season that gets you through to the next season. There's always something like that. He always provides what you need. I said that when I preached a couple weeks ago. God's always going to give you what you need. I never said it was what you wanted. I just said it's what you need. He makes sure that what you need is taken care of, And so once you can kind of shift your perspective in that, and when you can't find a way out of your negativity, you just got to lean into your faith and say, you know what I can't see, I trust that he can, and not to get preachy.
Hey, when you guys were talking about first of all, it's a book, right? The basement experience, a beginner's guide for
How to bootstrap out of a basement.
Started from the bottom.
And now I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, the thing that's interesting is what I hear from a lot of that. First of all, intentional living. I mean, the fact that I don't care where you are as it relates to where you land.
Mm-hmm.
When you think and live intentionally, you learn that you're not a potted plant.
Mm-hmm.
You learn that you're not a punching bag circumstances, and that you can extend your arms, or and you can fight back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it starts with intentional living. And intentional living, is recognizing, well, first listening to who you are, where you are, and taking good counsel from people around you that's been there, and knowing that, hey, you got a greater goal. But there's so many layers to what you all are saying, which I believe could be like a mini series for young couples or people who are just, because here's the challenge that we all have, and the Bible kind of speaks. Well, I don't know if it speaks about this, but I think it does in so many ways. We have to guard against things such as the lust of the eye. Three things we have to guard against: the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And any of those things that you welcome into your household, they just grow. Like, for example, if you don't know who you are and whose you are, that is, you don't have a plan, then what happens is the lust of the eye or the lust of the flesh or the pride of life could be like, well, you know what? I'm deserving of this. I want this, and you'll be reaching for something before you're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You'll put it on a credit card. You'll go out and borrow money for somebody. You'll get out there and be working yourself to death trying to get something that's not right for you in your season, and that's because you've allowed yourself to be succumbed to the lust of the eye or the lust of the flesh or the pride of life. They got it, so I need it.
Yeah.
And so it's like you got to guard. I don't care where you are in life, whatever business, where every male, every female, every young and old person, you have to guard yourself against that. Mm-hmm. And there's no insurance against that except for having a strong foundation in the Word.
Right.
Yeah.
Point blank. But like, anyway, I was just saying, like, that right there has got like bestseller written all over it.
Well, I will tell you, just you framing it like that has made me think, like, there's a couple things that if it were like if there were going to be some points, like, number one, like, we kind of talk about this, like, everything we have is such a blessing now. Mm-hmm. That's not just, I mean, that's not just a fact. It is truth. It is like, God has just been so good to us. But the truth of the matter is, like Paul said, I know what it's like to, abound. I know how to be abased. Like if this went away overnight, like the blessed, like Job, like I'm not going to not serve you because I know how to do that in 300 square foot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it also, I'll tell you this, you learn how little you really need in life. I mean, you really, like, to your point, I want, there's so much stuff that we just, honest to God, we just don't need in our lives.
No.
Ridiculous. And the other thing that, again, that was unique to that situation, that is probably could be the purpose, if I'll be honest with you. If anything, it was the greatest blessing. And that was immediate access to mentorship.
Yeah, literally coffee every morning.
Like, every morning, me and Brittany had the opportunity to drink coffee and talk life and discuss matters with mentors.
Yeah, with our fellow leaders that were,
sit,
in the ditch with us.
To sit at the dinner table.
Not to interrupt, but I want to stop you there. It's like, how valuable is that? I mean, like,
it's invaluable.
Yeah. It's
invaluable. Like, and just so you know, how did that work out? Well, we liked it so well, we ended up moving beside them. So that's how good that worked. But I'm just simply saying that, like, those years of just being able to download that persona and those principles into our lives. I mean, literally taking my 20s now into my 30s. I mean, there's so many things. I mean,
Well,
I catch myself. I'm like, well, I tell you this. I learned this from, from this person at this point.
let me tell you what God does in the last chapter of the basement book. Let me tell you what God does. So 10 years of this, right? Until finally we get to a place, I struggled a lot with, the desire to, I am a homemaker at heart. I love the idea of making my house a home for my family. Yeah, I do. Everything circles around the idea of home, right? Like I just want us to be able to come to where we, dwell and it have a welcoming, my kids can make memories here. Their friends can come over and, just that's the thing. That's always been a desire for me, even before I had kids. I wanted to be able to do that. So kind of boxing that into a basement, I felt like I mentally would hit walls, and I would get depressed or whatever, till finally I just started understanding, like, this is the purpose right now. It's not forever, but this is where and I leaned into the appreciation of it for several years. It really only hit me for a couple of years. But okay, so we're coasting in this season, right? We're growing together. We're working together. We were able to move into our new church location while we were still in the basement. We were able to, brand everything, strategically place everything, all that while living together. And let me tell you something. In one weekend, I'm not exaggerating this. In one single weekend, the Bible talks about God restoring. He can restore the years that you've. Yeah. One weekend, I found this house on Zillow, and I was just like playing around on Zillow. Sometimes I like to go to Zillow and look at the market. That's just hence our conversation earlier. I just enjoy it. I don't even dream. I just like looking at those things. So if I hadn't gone the direction I've gone, I would have been in real estate. I love it. So I was looking at it and I found this house and I was like, man, this is a beautiful house. Mom and Dad, I'm sending this to Mom. This is gorgeous. So I sent it to her. She was like, this is amazing. I would love to live there. And it's like, yeah, right. And then we showed it to my dad. He's like, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I would like, and then he sends a location in Willoughby Station, and this is a little Mount Juliet area. And so he sends this, and he's like, I like this area. And then he gets to looking, and then as he starts looking in the Mount Juliet area, he ends up finding, like, a few miles down the way, all of a sudden, here's this other location, and oh my God, it's for sale. And then I contacted the real estate agent, and now I have a viewing for it tomorrow. And so Saturday, they view it, and then all of a sudden, is it that Sunday or whatever? They put in an offer, long story short. And we're like, we're just going to give it to God and see what happens. And then within the next day, the offer was accepted. And in a matter of a month, by just some act of God, we then bought Mom and Dad's house, and they were able to move into the Mount Juliet area. So I looked at that, and I was so emotional about this, because all of those years that I spent in that basement, where I was like, man, this is my desert season, right? This is my dry season. I had no idea I was in the basement of my promise. Like, I had no idea that the thing that I lit, I then owned it. You know what I'm saying? It became this season of taking that and saying, wow, somebody else's basement, right, turned into my promise. And I had my first opportunity to have my home be the home I grew up in, which was just phenomenal. And then all of a sudden, after a couple of years, we were able to make the coolest decision ever and end up moving next door to Mom and Dad. But just how God did it in a weekend, everything shifted. I mean, in a moment, in an instant, everything shifted. And
this is after 10 years.
After, right? 10 years, yeah. After 10 years. So it's like, it's one of those, depends on your perspective, right? Like you could look at it and say, boy, just like that happened. This is like people that have explosive growth. Well, actually it took years and years and years and years and years to get to that point. But
overnight success.
Yeah, what felt like an instant was a 10-year build. But that's just how good God is, you know? And so that can apply, that's applicable to so many areas of life, right? Whatever you're sowing in, it'll feel like an instant, right? That God just shifts it.
So it's like you're overcoming the basement, and don't let the basement overcome you.
Yeah.
And as a result, you're able to kind of like glean, like you can still exercise your best self without like demonizing the whole process.
Yeah.
And as a result, not only do you make your life better, but you're able to add value to someone else's life just by presenting them an idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, that put that in the chapter. Put that in the book, because that's worth telling. That's worth sharing. And we got to be careful, like, and for all the listeners, the things that you think is common sense or just run of the mill thinking for you and behavior, you got to understand, like, there's millions of people out there that just don't have that need that insight, that intellect, that outlook.
Yeah.
And so we shouldn't take what is something that's just for granted that everybody knows, or, oh, this is a natural thing to do. No, people need to be taught. People need to be learned, like, through this. And, learn to have a different perspective. Learn that, for the night, that the sun won't come up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The sun will rise, people. It's just like, but don't let your basement experience become, the life that you live.
Yeah.
Anyway, wonderful story. Wonderful story about getting out of your own lane.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's firsthand experience, and your story is different than our story, but the common thing will always be, if you put the kingdom of God first, right? Like dig into his word, follow his word, not just dig into it, but like apply it to your life and work hard. Like, that's work hard. Then honestly, I've never seen the righteous forsaken. God will always give you what you need. And in the midst of what you need, he also provides some desires that you never thought you'd have, until all of a sudden he puts all the pieces together. And God is just, so good in that. We have like so many comments.
Yeah,
God is so good. Yes. Let's start up here. Yes, I was thinking the other day.
Yes, I was thinking this TJ. I was thinking the other day. I'm so
Context.
blessed. I'm blessed to work from home and take care of my son. For years, I dreamed of doing this and thought it wasn't possible, and God made it happen. We have our challenges, but we're so blessed.
TJ and Ashley's story.
Incredible. God just
incredible.
But I want to say something. Just because there's a challenge doesn't mean it's not a blessing. Mm-hmm. Just so you know.
Tweet that.
There's giants in the land, okay?
Yeah.
Just because it's an obstacle doesn't mean it's not your blessing, okay? I said there's work to be done.
But that's it.
Any more comments?
Let's see here. Bishop Patterson used to say, they that wait on the Lord doesn't mean do nothing, but wait as in waiter, servant. They that wait on the Lord work while waiting.
That
Absolutely.
Is so good. That is so good.
Like, I'll tell you this, you can't go wrong. Like, wherever you're at, going back to principled living, you need to be pouring into people, serving people. Like, and it's not the give to get, but you get to give. Like, I'm just telling you, like, stuff does not matter. And when God makes a move, you just receive it.
We had pace went to a decrease, and I remember one time we were sitting there looking at it, and we were like, "My goodness, we are making less than we've ever made in our lives," and yet more fulfilled than we've ever been. Do you remember that? That was like,
There is no place like home. That's true. It's
Yeah.
a safe place. Kiana said, woo, God's so good. And he is.
Yeah.
He's very good. Mother Teresa, God didn't need 10 years, but you guys needed 10 years to learn and to grow and to get ready for your promise.
That's true.
I believe that. And I believe that
That's good.
I'm en route for my next promise.
Yeah. Well, it's like we said, one process to another. It's
Absolutely.
always a process.
And it's getting into the cycle and the principle of what God's doing. By the way, some of you that are hearing this, I hope you're encouraged, because the truth of the matter is, there is absolute, like, I want you to hear me 100% on as we close, because it's not. Perspective is, some people feel like this. Well, that's for somebody else. Okay? Mm-hmm. There is absolutely nothing, like, when I say this, I'm not discrediting us. What I'm saying is, there's nothing about us that's better than you. Mm-mm. Wherever you're at, whatever it is that you're believing God for, the things that you need Him to do, He does not respect me over you. There is no perception that you should have that says, well, that happened for them. No. It can happen for you too. And in fact, I will tell you this, to your point: seek the kingdom of God. All these things shall be added to you. You're in process right now. Right? The reason that I know that everything is working out for my good and for His glory is because I know what it's like to be in the basement. Yeah. And the basement is a perception. Yeah. My palace could be another person's basement.
You could call it a launching pad.
It's yeah, absolutely. And once you move to a next level, there's a new level. Yeah. If you are willing to keep growing. Now, if you're done, then just be done. Yeah. That's fine. But I just believe that God is continuing to do more and more and more. Not so that we can just have more, because we can do more and have more impact and encourage more people and help more people. Like, that's what it's about. It's about being blessed to bless. Yeah. And we've seen that firsthand. We've seen it firsthand, y'all.
You can only do that with a positive perspective, because you're always going to find something in your life that you're not quite satisfied with. This goes back to seek the kingdom of God. God's gonna, when you work hard, you put His word, follow His word, work hard. There's gonna be something at your table. You're gonna have food at your table. You might not like it. It might be manna.
Eat it anyways.
You might complain about it, but it's there. It's there. And as you grow, God blesses. But how can you turn around if your perspective in your life is, oh, I'm just miserable. You know what I mean? And sometimes we feel that way, and it's okay to give ourselves some time to process. But just always remember, there's something positive in anything in your life. There's always something positive. The basement becomes the foundation of your miracle. Exactly. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. And you know what's so funny though is we don't live in a mansion. We don't live in, you know what I mean? It's not one of those, we're not high society. Like it's everything that we need, therefore everything we want. You know what I mean? We are so happy with what God has given us. And I'm so glad that I have my basement season, because then I can appreciate the smallest of things. And, you can look at your home and say, yeah, but that my flooring's going bad or my walls are going. What a great way to make your home your own, is to have something to work on. That was me. That's what kind of inspired me to then start my own business. It's because the idea of making your home your own appealed to me. So yeah, you just never know. You never know what might birth out of your basement season.
All right, it's Friday. We wish you a great weekend. By the way, yes. This lady right here is going to have a birthday on Monday. Oh, yeah. Woohoo! I was about to say this weekend, but then it dawned on me
those used to be a lot more exciting than they are now. McKendra's turning 16 tomorrow. And I'm like, I remember that one was like, yes. And then now it's I'm not old. I'm turning 32. But still, it hits different. It's just another day. Jason asked me what I wanted. I said I want a nap.
You want a nap?
I do.
For your birthday?
I don't want to do.
You're already
yeah, I just want
predicting
a
that you're
nap.
going to need that?
I'm predicting that I'm going to want that.
I
Just a nice little.
I think you need
undisturbed
some
nap.
better for you nutrition
Yes.
/ training.
Yeah.
Get you feeling better.
Nice little nap though.
Awesome. All right. Be good people. And we'll see you Monday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time.